All right. All right. So welcome to the Healthy You Leader meeting. Today is July 16th, 2024. And I am really glad that all of you took the time out of your day today to join us. This is our information here. And then this is what we have planned for you today is welcome and introductions, just a quick review of if you were there last time. We talked a lot about scheduling Healthy You classes and getting them going. We're going to continue that discussion today. Larry's going to give us a report on current state of affairs and where we are. And then we're going to have a leader highlight. That's something that we'd like to introduce is sharing best practices, what works, what needed problem solving. We have Joni Christie who's going to be sharing with us today. So thank you, Joni, for volunteering. And then we want to talk a little bit about your communities and how you can immerse yourself into your communities, how you can influence and leverage your community members to really get your community healthy. Because that's what this is all about, is really helping and supporting you to get things started. What questions do you have about the agenda? All right. We're moving on. Group agreements. And I'm just going to just talk about that really quickly as we want you to be present and prepared to engage. Self-care is important. So if you need to eat, drink, get up, move around, totally fine. One person at a time talks. You can use the emojis, raising your hand, and Larry and I will keep an eye out out for any kind of, if people would like to talk, they can unmute themselves. We appreciate those of you who have the opportunity to turn your camera on, turn off and silence your phone, and really let's make the most out of this today and have some fun. Is there anything that I need to add to the group agreements? And one more thing is step up and step back. Step up, what that really means is if you usually don't participate as much, or, just give yourself a little push. And we want to hear from you. And then some of us, and this is myself included, I like to talk. I need to monitor myself usually a little bit to allow others to talk as well. So that's kind of that step back approach for participation. So let me go to the next slide. If you could just put in the chat box really quick, your name, your location. And then one fun summer activity that you did already or you will participate in this summer, something that is going to be fun for you. And then one thing that we can do to support your work. What can we do to help you be successful in your role as a Healthy You leader? Scott Leach and Casper. Paddleboarding, Joni, fun. Natalie Stewart. Oh, Diana's going to lots of weddings. Golfing for Penny. Heather from Goshen County. Kara, that doesn't surprise me. Racing. If you don't know that about Kara, she and her husband do racing everywhere in the country. Oh, good. Joni, having a booth at the health fair in September. Dama, Gardening is the fun in the summer. Natalie Stewart, hiking with a dog, teaching yoga to my friends. Is it Katya? Um,
Yeah, thanks for pronouncing that so well.
what's the origin of your name, Katya?
It's Russian. My mom got it from Dr. Zhivago.
Oh, nice. I
I'm not
like it.
Russian.
Okay, Heather's touring Wyoming with the grandkids, been to the boys in Thermopolis. Yeah, Larry, you win the prize. Costa Rica. Uh, planting a bee-friendly garden. Very nice. Well, those are really super fun activities. I hope you got some ideas for yourself of things that you can do. Thank you for sharing. Um, and we're going to move on to our next slide. And I'm going to hand it over to Larry.
Yeah, thank you so much for introduction, Sabina. Just a quick little update here. We all met for our last quarterly meeting in the middle of April, like Sabine mentioned. Since then, there have been 8 healthy workshops that have completed. 4 of those were in our CDSMP, parent chronic disease self-management program. There were 2 Tomando Control de Salud workshops, one of which at a new site in HealthWorks, at HealthWorks in Cheyenne. Congratulations to those folks getting their first Tomando workshop off the ground. A DSMP workshop at the Wyoming Honor Farm concluded during this last 3 months, and we also did our first in-person Cancer Thriving and Surviving class here locally in Laramie that Sabina and Catherine facilitated. So some great work from you folks this last quarter. Fantastic to see workshops coming in. And yeah, we can probably go to the next slide here. Let's see. I do want to put out a quick reminder for everyone on the call. We do have 2 upcoming leader trainings. These are CDSMP leader trainings. Both an in-person and a virtual that kind of overlap. So it is a pick your poison type situation of which you would prefer. The virtual is really right around the corner. August 6th is our first meeting, and that will run into September 12th. That's evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7:30, or whenever we wrap up, which is usually earlier, not later. And we also have another in-person leader training that we're going to be doing right here in Laramie, September 10th to September 13th. Let's go ahead and see the next slide while I talk about that a little bit more, Sabina.
Okay. So before we move on to talking a little bit more about our current leader situation is, how many of you have somebody in mind in your community who might be interested in attending a leader training? Raise your hand.
And I bring this next slide up because this little a box you see here in the right are our current registrations for these 2 upcoming events. So if these are folks that you know, folks that you don't know that are in your communities or right down the road, or even if they're far, far away, these are new people that are going to be joining our network to support Healthy You. So yeah, anyone on this call have anyone in mind that they know might be interested, that they've talked to about becoming a Healthy You leader, but maybe isn't on this list yet? Feel free to call them out now, throw them in the chat box, send me or Sabina an email so that we can make sure we get them registered. But this is a great little list so far that we're working with for these late summer, early fall Healthy You leader trainings.
So are these just for the in-person or are they for both, Larry?
These are combined.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we still have some time until we have the September training. How many do we have for the in-person training? I'm going to put a plug in for that.
Let's do it. Do you have it right here? Let me click around for a moment.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot
No,
here.
that's okay. see. So for our in-person, we have 5
Five.
confirmed at the moment. And a few others that are interested, but have not yet been able to commit.
Yeah, so the importance is we do need to have a group of, I would say at least 8 to 10 in order to make it a group. And make it successful. And if you've attended the in-person leader training, you know how important the group interaction and the group work is. So if you can think of anybody, please send them our way to make sure that we have enough people. And the sidebar really is that it's going to be in Laramie. Coming to Laramie is super fun. Lots of things to do if you haven't been lately, or you want to send a friend or a colleague or another community member. Please encourage them to attend so that you have support in your communities too, and have a co-leader or a third co-leader in your communities as well. Anything else here, Larry, on this?
Just wanted to bring up that since our last network meeting in April, we did have a diabetes self-management program cross-training that was just a few weeks ago at the beginning of this month. And 11 standing CDSMP leaders cross-trained to the diabetic program. So very excited. A few of you are on this call too, I see. So very excited to have you guys all set to do double duty with CDSMP and DSMP workshops.
Okay.
All right. So for this slide, Sabina and I just wanted to begin opening up the conversation a little bit in terms of planning for the coming 3 months and what we're hoping to accomplish on our end in with WAICOA and statewide, and also locally, what you all would like to be accomplishing as summer begins to wrap up, as sad as that is to say, and we begin transitioning to fall here. From our standpoint, we would love to see additional workshops be put on the calendar. We've had conversations in the past about beginning to build out our calendars and the usefulness of being able to decide, even if it's in broad strokes, when we're going to be doing workshops in particular areas, so that we can start planning early and make those workshops successful. So we would love to see workshops on calendars for you all. It doesn't have to be imminently, but like we said, putting workshops on the calendar far in advance helps you all in your planning and making sure ducks are in a row, and it helps us at WAICOA to support you, spread the word in your counties. We didn't take a special moment to introduce them, but we've got a couple of our regional coordinators on the call too. If you're not already familiar, WAICOA has 4 regional coordinators that operate in kind of the 4 not so straight corners of Wyoming. And they are a wonderful resource when it comes time to promoting workshops, getting materials into providers' hands, sharing information at conferences and health fairs and things along those lines. So they are a wonderful resource that with some lead time can be super beneficial when it comes to filling workshops.
Yeah.
In the same vein of getting workshops on calendars, as you are all familiar with and hopefully should still be thinking about, requirements to remain a Healthy You leader, a CDSMP leader, or any of the sub-programs, diabetes or cancer, are to facilitate 1 workshop annually. Occasionally, there are some grace periods that can be made there, and or refresher trainings. However, if you're a trained leader and you're thinking back, ooh, I did my my training virtually this last winter, and that wrapped up in February, then we really need to get your first workshop on the books in this first year. And extrapolate that out for whenever your training was, or your last workshop. If your last workshop was 8, 9, 10 months ago, it would really be great if we could keep you all active by getting workshops scheduled. Ooh, excuse me, close my window. Here in Laramie, or on campus rather, it alternates between being 95 degrees or jackhammer right outside our windows. So try not to drown you guys out too much. With that, does anyone have some thoughts about their next workshops, whether it's a concrete date that you maybe haven't shared with us just yet, or broad strokes ideas about when you're going to be doing your next workshop that you'd like to share with the group?
So Larry, I'm thinking maybe what we can do is, because we have such a large group, is just do like a 5-minute breakout group discussion where people can talk about what they're hoping to accomplish in terms of workshops, scheduling, and just getting their communities healthy. So we really want to have a conversation. And the question is, what are you hoping to accomplish as a leader, and how are you planning on starting your next workshop? If you wanted to take 5 minutes to discuss that in breakout rooms, then I'm going to go ahead and create that. And then when we come back is please identify one person who will report out and who can kind of summarize what was discussed in your groups. And then Larry and I will pop into your groups and check on it and
Sounds
see how the
great.
discussion's going. So I'm going to create those. You will be automatically assigned, and I'll give you like a 1-minute warning before we close. All right, see you in 5. All right. Well, almost everybody back. Yeah, I think everybody's back. Welcome back. So I am curious to hear what you guys discussed and what you talked about. So let's start with group one. That was Andrea, Kara, Penny, and Scott. Who's going to be reporting out?
Well, I guess I can. Nobody else turned off their mic, or turned on their mic.
Hey,
Penny is working on figuring out how to schedule that class. They are just working through some staffing issues at the moment, so that is great to see that they're going to be offering that in Wheatland and in Guernsey. Scott is in need of a co-facilitator, so he's in Casper, so he needs a list or to work with one of either, work with Larry on figuring out who in Casper he could partner with to do a class. And Andrea and I are here to support you guys. So that was our group of 4.
great. Thanks,
If you
Kara.
want to put it in the notes, Erin and I are hoping to do something in Cheyenne in October when the new senior center in Cheyenne opens.
Yeah, have you had a conversation with her already? Just kind of like planning, setting a date or something, or not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, it's still early on, but I think in general, we recommend that, 8 weeks before your starting date, you should really kind of know what date, what time is best. Okay. Room 2, Dama, Natalie, and it's, I think, Odalis. We'll report out there.
I mean, I can talk.
Thanks, Dama.
Yeah, so Natalie they are doing a virtual leadership training beginning in August. Me and Stephanie, who's not on this call, are planning to do another virtual cancer workshop in the next few months. We're working with Larry on that. And then me and Taylor, my coworker here, will be planning a diabetes workshop in person. I don't know when. Scott, I'd be interested in talking to you. I'm in Casper, so Larry can get you hooked up with me. And then Odalis is teaching some other classes that Healthy You has really, really helped her be able to do. And then she's going to be working on the Spanish workshop as well.
Nice. And Odalis, where are you located?
Hi, I'm located in Jackson.
Teton County. I see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do work close to Natalie, and she pointed us to the Spanish group that works with the free clinic.
Yeah, great. So that's really exciting stuff that's happened. Dama, you were going to be super busy doing the virtual, and maybe at our next October meeting, would you be willing to talk a little bit about, you've done in-person and virtual, right? Dama?
I thought you said Odalis.
No.
Okay, can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you've done both virtual and in-person Healthy You classes. Would you be willing to share a little bit about the differences? If somebody is interested in starting something virtual, and maybe at our next meeting as a leader highlight?
Sure.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll put you on the agenda. And if we have time, we can even talk about a little bit today. Okay, but I think we have a full agenda. Thank you, Dama. And then room 3, we have Heather, Joni, Katya, and Lucy, who will report out.
I don't think any of us had classes scheduled. This is kind of a crazy time of year to schedule anything. We talked about maybe doing some in the beginning of next year.
Okay, so you're looking really January 2025,
Yes.
February, March.
Yes.
And Joni, in terms of, so for, you work with public health?
I do.
Yeah, and this is a really crazy time for you because it's immunization time, right? So there's really no room for any Healthy You classes. And I think
Correct.
that's really important too, to be very aware of the fact of what are your capacities at what times of the year, or your participation. You know, most people in the summer don't want to sit 2.5 hours in a room for a Healthy You class. They want to be out doing stuff because our summer season is so short. So being realistic about that, when I plug this in, so staffing is not an issue, people will come and attend. I think that's good thinking, and to just say the fall is out for us, and probably always, right? Because it
Yeah.
is just a really busy season. Okay, well, thank you. And then we have Diane, Larry, and then I don't know, it's C. Wright.
That's Cindy, right,
Cindy.
out at Goshen, Goshen County Public Health in Torrington.
Right.
Yeah, we had a great little conversation and introduced Cindy to Diane. Cindy, they did a health fair of sorts not too long ago and put out some Healthy You information and had a lot of conversations with folks there, and started generating some general interest and kind of, you know, taking the temperature on your community to see if they're ready for a workshop, and some great interest that she saw there. They too are looking at, once getting through the fall, getting something on the books for post-fall times. So that's what they're looking at. And Cindy's also excited. They've got they currently have 2 facilitators there, and they're training another 2 facilitators in these upcoming leader trainings. So they're going to be strengthening their ranks of Healthy You leaders a little bit more, and that should make things a little bit easier as well in terms of substituting leaders in and out, and, you know, easing some scheduling and staffing concerns too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. There's exciting stuff going on. I think realistic planning I'm hearing as well, which is great. But now my question is how can we all work together as a team of leaders? What do you need from each other? What do you need from us to really feel supported, to feel, you know, that you can be successful and implement workshops in your community successfully?
I'll talk on that.
Great.
So I've offered just the base Healthy You class several times now. And then I did take the diabetes piece and I did take the cancer piece as well. And what I would really like to see coming in the future is people that have already taken that base Healthy You class. I'd like to see a 1 or a 2-day class specific to diabetes or specific to cancer. I don't want them to have to retake the entire class just to get those tiny little pieces. They're not going to do it. But I want to give them the information. So that's what I'd like to see coming.
So when we do the diabetes training, oh, I see what you're saying. So 1 to 2 day class for your
That I would
participants.
teach. That I would teach my seniors that have already taken the rest of
The
the
Healthy You.
the 6-week course.
Yeah, yeah. So that there is somewhat of a refresher with focus on diabetes, or
Yes,
with focus on cancer, thriving, surviving, because yeah, you don't want to go through the same old 6 weeks again,
correct.
right? I think that's something that we need to look at. I think we have restrictions. Larry, you can probably speak to that in terms of fidelity of the program, but I also think that new ideas are really important. And if we just stick to fidelity, then nothing new ever comes out. So
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, sure. It's tricky, right? Because like you said, 6 weeks for any of these classes is already a pretty big commitment, right? For most participants to block off that amount of time on their calendars and to show up and follow through. And then the cancer, thriving and surviving, and also the diabetes self-management program, there is some common ground there, right? Where we're recovering some of the basic topics that CDSMP, Basic Healthy You, covers. What I would counter with are 2 things. One, we can't we can't pull big excerpts from this program and do it independent of the program because of fidelity considerations and copyright issues, with this not being our, WICOA's program, but an international program that we have a license to do. Very similarly to, if you were to do a CPR refresher, and then, the people in that class, they've been CPR trained for, 20 years, and you just want to do a little practice really quick. If you opened up the American Heart Association's BLS book and just kind of pulled random excerpts and did some teaching, we kind of get into that realm of copyright issues, and also fidelity considerations. Are we helping or hurting if we're pulling pieces from an evidence-based program and not presenting all of it? So that would be the technical answer that I have to give on that. The other side.
Well, I understand completely what you're saying, and I agree with you completely. What my hope is from you is that you can send it up the line to whoever does create these and say that this has been requested, and is this something that they would consider coming out with in the future? I would never think that we could or should change what their plan currently is, but I do think that the suggestion that they make that a smaller course in the future could be coming from you.
Sure. Yeah. I would love to pass that up. And just in that same vein for other issues as well, Joni, what you're talking about, I'd be happy to send that on. As you might imagine, I'm in relatively continuous, at least every other month, conversations with the course creators and the licensors, asking questions, getting clarification when I need my answers. When I need questions answered, and I have plenty of those sorts of things for them. Why do we do it this way and not that way? Would I get in trouble if I did it this way? They're used to getting those sorts of questions from me. So I'd be happy to pass that off. Also, if anyone else has any sort of comments, questions along those lines for the course creators, you could pass them through me if you wanted. Also, if you open the very, very, very last page of your leader manual, they do have a formal form with the contact info for the course creators if you wanted to pass anything on. Just as another way to put it in, if you ever saw anything else that you'd like to put out there. So yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I would imagine that at least in part, what they would probably say is that they'd like to look at that because they are happy to continuously be looking at stuff. And maybe they already have, and maybe that's already coming down the pipe. A very similar, not similar, but kind of in the same vein, request that I get a lot from leaders in our network and that I hear other leaders in other networks making is, can we do hybrid? When can we do hybrid? We can either do in-person or virtual, but we can't do hybrid. And I know that they've been looking at that for quite a while, and that's probably in response to us asking for it. So it doesn't hurt to ask. I do know that one of the main strengths of all of these programs is the length of it and that action planning, how powerful the action planning component can be. And if you're trying to instill behavior changes in your participants, for better or worse, it takes a long time. And that's a big reason for why the course is 6 weeks long, as opposed to let's meet twice a week or 3 times a week for an hour and we'll just crank out all the content for you. The big reason for them stretching it out is to give people that action planning and that following through on their action planning week after week. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had an answer similar to that. But you're right, it would be nice to do a graduated. I did CDSMP in October and now it's January, and I want to specifically address diabetes. So can I get an add-on, right? Like the add-on stuff. So yeah, I'd be happy to pass that on for you.
I think, and Larry, we pass it on, but the more the better. So if you wanted to contact them directly, we'll put the contact information for the creators of this program in our follow-up email. So just if you have ideas, send them on directly too, because they need to know what the general public wants. They're sitting there in California and doing their thing and develop this really great curriculum, but they may not be nearly as much in touch with what participants want in different areas of the country. So that's why it's important that all of us, I think, take that responsibility and really write them and let them know. What else do you need from each other and
I
from
have a-
us? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry. I have a question. And I apologize, Larry. I feel like I should already know the answer to this.
That's okay.
For the life of me, I can't retrieve an answer. For the cancer portion, is there one in the works in Spanish? We have a large Spanish population. And we always focus on diabetes, but they also get cancer. And so, do you know what the update is for that?
Yes, that's a great question. There is one. So while our general focus here in Wyoming is for these two languages, is for English and Spanish, most all of these manuals have been translated into many languages. The Wyoming Center on Aging is the only license holder here in Wyoming. Most states have multiple license holders. Most states have been doing this program since the mid-90s. There's around 30 other countries that are implementing these programs. At least every other month, there's a request on the SMRC listservs to help translate one of these manuals to yet another language. So all of these materials exist in virtually every functional language that we here in Wyoming would need. They are by and large the same, but there is a cultural adaptation between the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program and Tomando Control de su Salud, right? They're like 90% the same, but there are some very key cultural adaptations. It isn't just a word for word translation. So those programs are technically different, not a translation of one another. But all of the other programs, Cancer Thriving and Surviving, Diabetes Self-Management Program, those also have been translated into Spanish, and we've got access to those. So for anyone like Odalis that's bilingual or is comfortable speaking Spanish or any other language, your certification kind of instantly translates to any language you are fully fluent in. So you could teach in any of those languages, and we have all those materials ready-made for us. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. The folks at the free clinic up there too have been going back and forth. They're Blanca and Edith are so excited and motivated to do everything all the time. So I think right now they are grappling a little bit with, well, for our first diabetes and our first cancer workshop, should we be doing those in English or Spanish? Because they're bilingual and there's a population for both up there. So yeah, great question.
Great, thanks. And I have one more question. Do you have an updated virtual class list that's coming out for the next 6 months that we can start posting?
Sure, for workshops.
Yes,
virtual workshops that we
exactly.
can jump into. Yeah, certainly. Let me share that out with you.
Well, that'll go out in our follow-up list too. And that's such a great question, Natalie, is that the virtual workshops are open to anybody in Wyoming or anywhere else. Well, no, I think we have to restrict it to Wyoming for right now. But let's promote that in our communities, especially when there's no planning on any kind of health review or diabetes workshop, so that we can fill these classes. Okay, I'm going to move us on in the interest of time, because next we have Joni, who was going to share some of her best practices and what she does to start a workshop and to fill her workshops. Because Joni, I hear you're like the star.
Let me give Joni a 90-second intro here. Joni and I actually got our leader training, our CDSMP leader training at the same time. I took this job about 3 weeks before leader training was scheduled. So when I came onto the Health EU program, I got trained as a leader straight away, and Joni and I were cohort mates in Casper for that workshop. And since then, Joni's done a couple workshops, and she just wrapped up two CDSMP workshops in person, pretty much back to back. One finished mid-April and the other end of February. Does that sound right? So we we'd love to hear how filling those workshops went, and yeah, and all that.
Let me start by clarifying, I am not a nurse. I am the office manager here at Public Health, so let's manage expectations.
I'm
Before-
sorry.
That's okay. Before I worked for Public Health, I was the Chamber of Commerce director, so that let me meet a lot of people. And before that, I worked at the senior centers. So I am familiar with the bulk of the seniors in all of Sublette County. So that was where I went, and I taught one class right after we got trained, after COVID lifted, at the senior center in Pinedale. So our county is divided into two, north and south. So that was North County. And that went great. And then this year there were enough people. I hit my max last year. So there were people on the waiting list. So I filled the class again this year in Pinedale and then offered it in South County and Marbleton, and people were waiting for it. And so that class was filled as well. So really it was just getting to the right demographic that was waiting for this information. That's it. It didn't take 5 minutes. That's the magic. Go to the
Okay.
seniors.
That's the magic. How do you think people heard about Healthy You? And when you say like people are waiting and excited about it, what sorts of things happened that got them excited about it?
I went and advertised. I went and had lunch with them a couple different days, and just wandered around to each table and visited with them. It was also in their newsletter, in the seniors newsletter. And then we throw it out there too, to the public. We throw it in the newspaper, we throw it on the Pinedale Online, but really it's the senior center that got the word out the best, and they let me come and actually visit with the people right there. So it wasn't just, oh, I saw that somewhere. It was Joni made me sign up, and I took their names and numbers and I called them all to remind them that, hey, class is starting. I expect to see you.
Yeah, certainly. And if you don't already know Joni, that's very much her personality, and she's extremely effective at that, which is
Well,
amazing. I'll pause for
because I
1
love
second.
them. I truly am
Yeah.
passionate about serving others. So and they can tell that. They know that I just want to help them. It's not some sales pitch. It's me being passionate about helping them.
Yeah, most certainly. And I'll make a little aside here that's directly in line with what you're talking about. There's so much that we can do, and there's so much support that we, YCOA, want to help provide you guys in terms of marketing, establishing new relationships with physicians and providers in your areas. There's, helping with setting up advertisements in local papers or circulars. There's a lot that we can help take off your plates. But what really gets people excited about workshops is the relationships that they already have with their local leaders. And there's a real reason that we use that term leaders. That's not our term, that's the national term, right? Anyone that's a CDSNP leader, that's what they call y'all nationally. And that's because this is by and large a peer-led intervention where people that are in their communities that are passionate about these topics, that have received training to deliver these workshops, help fill these workshops. So I don't say that to scare you and say that you have to do it all alone when it comes time to filling a workshop, but the existing relationships that you have in your communities and with the people that come through your doors are extremely meaningful. People trust you, and they feel that love, right, Joni, that you care about them, and that when you're recommending something for them, they take that very seriously, much more seriously than a random pamphlet at a doctor's office that they don't even know the doctor that they're going to see that day. Great.
I heard a couple of really great ideas from Joni. Is that she had a sign-up sheet with her when she went to lunch with them and chatted and told them when the workshop was starting, and then took down name and numbers already, and then communicated afterwards. It really takes initially to get things off the ground, takes a little extra work like that, and establishing these relationships with community leaders. And I will say, when we talk to people at the senior center, those are our community leaders. They are part of the community and really provide leadership to other people and are connected to other people again. So I really like that. And that passion, speaking from the heart, This is not a sales pitch. This is not about increasing numbers. This is really about getting Wyoming healthy and preventing diabetes or managing diabetes, helping people survive and thrive after cancer. So again, if you heard something that you might want to try out, I would highly recommend that you take that with you as an action item and make an action plan for it as we do in Healthy You. So I'm going to move us on. Thank you, Joni, so much. This is, sorry for mislabeling your profession there. I'm going to move us on to, the next slide. And so there, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that leads right into who are we in our community? Who lives in our community? Where do people get information?
Yeah. Do you want to jump right into this as it relates to the circle of influence, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just dropped in the chat, and I think Sabina already sent it out in an email, but I put it also into the chat, a little circle of influence document. And let's see, who would be aware that I'm plagiarizing this? Dama would. This is part of a great activity that we did at the Wyoming Cancer Coalition meeting. And it's just a little formal document or a brainstorming tool, if you will, that helps people kind of identify some things that they know in their head, but helps put it on paper when it comes time to actually promoting workshops and spreading the word and all of that good stuff. So this document will really help you describe your community in the sense of where are people getting their health information, what are the trusted resources, and can you go talk to those trusted resources? Are you that trusted resource? And also from a more community scheduling standpoint, where do people go for any local happenings? Is there a local circular? Is there a Chamber of Commerce, online calendar that is very important to everyone? Is it Facebook groups for your area? Those sorts of things. So that's a little bit of the tee up. I know we don't have a ton of time left here, but Sabina, do we want to open up the circle of influence really quick and do this?
Yeah. Let me just, oopsie. Let me just stop sharing and then reshare again. Yeah.
So Sabina and I originally were thinking of spending a good chunk of time actually working through this document with you, but as is apt to happen, we had some really good conversations, and now here we are, the final 5 minutes or so. So what do you think, Sabina? How would you like to work through this document here?
I think what I'd like to do is maybe just talk through it. Larry, you can take us through the document, and I'm hoping that all of you pulled it up, saved it to your desktop, or saved it in a file. And then what would be super helpful is you could complete that and send it back to us. Because then we can kind of create like a document that we can summarize it and without names or locations, but to say this is kind of how Teton County works. This is kind of how Natrona County works, or Sweetwater County works. These are the responses that we got from the different leaders in areas, and that might help others that are starting in the area or generate ideas for everybody. So I see this as a resource for everyone. And it's not, don't take like hours to complete this. Just a couple of points to jot down. So when we talk about the circle of influence, do you want to take us through this, Larry?
Yeah, like Sabina is saying, I think the best things that this document would help you do is one, help kind of organize your thoughts a little bit, in that you already know all of these people, probably, or there's a lot of people in all of these sectors that you know. But by using this tool to kind of organize your thoughts, you can then later on use it as a checklist. Have we reached out to this organization and that Facebook group and this club and all of these folks? So that's the first thing I think this document will do. I think the second thing that it'll help you do is identify people in your community that you know are important, that maybe you don't have a strong relationship with, and you'd like to have a better relationship. Oh, there's Dr. So-and-so down the road who's very popular. A lot of patients go that way, but I don't have a really great relationship with them. And that's you know, it could help you identify it if you want to facilitate that that relationship, but also it can help. You can then bring that to us, and we can help make those connections for you. Whether that's for myself and Sabina, sorry, jackhammer, or through any of our regional coordinators that we mentioned too. You know, Wyoming is a small town state, and there's like 2 degrees of separation. So if there's any group person that you know is influential in your community that you don't know, chances are Sabina and I know them, or we know someone that does know them, and we can help facilitate those connections to help spread the word when it comes time to promoting healthy workshops. So this document's meant to be a little different for each person, in that some of these sectors on the left there might be, you might have multiple things to put under them for your community, and others you might say, oh yeah, there really aren't very many strong social clubs in my area. It's mostly this other sort of thing. So I can read through these sectors here. They're meant to be a little vague so that you can just kind of think about it. But community nonprofit organizations, coalitions and collaboratives, service groups, healthcare organizations, providers, even insurance companies that sometimes play a very heavy-handed role in communities. Other services and resources that people use, social clubs, after-school organizations, work, employers, sometimes employee benefit programs or large employers in the area are very apt to help with health initiatives like this. Other social supports like food pantry, farmers markets. Influential people in the space. This was stolen from a cancer thing, so we didn't pull off cancer survivors, but you could cross out cancer survivors and write, influential people with chronic diseases in your community. Maybe there's a local voice that's very strong in your area. Schools can be a great source. A lot of times we think of schools as being young, healthy people, but schools are large institutions that have teachers, that have parents, that have grandparents as part of those social networks that need these resources as well.
And we've had some school nurses approaching us at events saying, we're super interested in bringing that into our schools for our families. Because it's really, an elementary school child doesn't do their own shopping, their own cooking. It's the family who really does that. And so utilize your schools as well.
Yeah. Faith-based organizations and gatherings are also typically large players in communities, and those organizations are typically very open to helping share any resources with their congregations or their memberships that are useful. Housing departments, arts and recreation. Financial sector is a little bit less so, but there are certain financial groups, like I'm thinking here in Laramie, like UniWyo is our federal credit union. They're very involved with the community. So they would be someone that I would put down for locally here in Laramie. Transportation sectors, because a lot of times as people are commuting or utilizing transportation services, they can get information at that same time. Shopping, government elected officials, and anything else you can think of. And then we put a little break here, and then at the bottom there's just some kind of brainstorming questions here that'll help jog memories a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of describe your community, right? I put that at the front.
Oh, yes, you moved it to the top. Thank you.
Yeah, the top. So thank you. I think we're coming to an end here. It's 11:01. My question to you is, how much time do you need to complete this? Worksheet? So this is kind of how we're looking at this. This is the circle of influence. Do you need a week? Do you need a day? What do you think? to kind of think through this. Dama,
I would think, because I work with specific leaders here in town and virtually, I would want to talk to both of them because both are a little different. And I don't know what their schedules are like. So I would say by like a month.
a
like,
month.
At least the middle of August or, beginning to middle of August, I think. That way I have time to talk to other leaders I always work with.
Cool. So how about September 1st? Because our next meeting is October 15th. And September 1st, that's about 6 weeks. And then that gives Larry and I a little bit time to put everything together and push it back out to you.
Yeah, certainly. And for any of you that are actively planning a workshop and we're getting dates on the books, this could be something that we would work on maybe one-on-one too, as we're talking about all of our marketing and promoting stuff. We could, as we're talking about all the implementation things, we could spend 5-10 minutes on a call working through this together if there's, if we end up with concrete dates that are just 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out from any particular time. So that sounds like a great time frame.
Yeah. And Stacy, I saw your question in that chat box. Yes, we recorded it and we'll send out the link after.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any last minute questions before we wrap up?
Thank
All
you all
right.
so much for your attendance. It was great to see so many of you and hear your excitement for the coming fall and the winter for upcoming workshops. So thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.